Hey photographers, so you figured out in part one how to do some nice portrait setups. You're getting a little bit more confident, starting to get a little bit more cocky, shall we say. But you just notice on your pictures there's still a little bit, there's something missing. You can't quite put your finger on it. Well, I'm going to tell you what that is. Let's get into it. Okay, welcome back to part two of my portrait series. So we discovered in part one how to set up 3 or 4 really nice portrait lighting systems for whether you're doing serious, moody portraits or whether you're doing happy, smiley, beautiful portraits from fashion. So in this episode, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail with some fine-tuning setups, and then at the end, I'm going to reveal the bomb, the thing that's going to make your portraits, your vision, if you like. So towards the end of the episode, I'm going to tell you exactly what you've been missing and why. Maybe we'll get to it before that, but you're going to learn it anyway. So where were we? We were looking at lighting setup. So I'm going to show you this beautiful setup I used for Monica and 1 or 2 other things. And again, we're going to look at variations here. Now, it's important to understand that if you're going to use multiple light sources on a face, you're going to be creating quite often not very flattering shadows. Even if you use 2 softboxes, you're gonna have a little bit of a crossover, a little bit of a mismatch, and you might end up hating it over years. So you're going to be very careful that you understand what you're doing before you do it. Now, it's always good to have a reference picture. Maybe you've seen somebody from the past whose work you like. Maybe you've had a brain fart and come up with it and you've drawn it. I don't know. But just be honest with yourself as you're shooting. If you're going to sandwich your face between 2 lights, wherever you position those lights, you've got to understand you're going to have a crossover of shadows, and you've got to really understand whether you want that or not. Some of the worst I see currently is, I'm a football fan. I like to watch my team, Liverpool FC. I watch Premier League a lot, and you'll notice, those of you that follow football, whenever the teams come out there to kick off, whatever channel it's on, they always bring up the team, don't they? And they'll flash pictures of players up on the screen. And it must be a mantra from, I don't know, from the Premier League or somewhere, where all the teams have got to photograph the players in a stock way. They've all got the same lighting and all that. But it's brutal. And it's the same lighting setup that I'm going to show you here now for this picture. It's exactly the same setup. It's just brutalised and then overacted to death. And you'll see it. Hopefully you'll be able to make that distinction after this little tutorial. But it gripes my gears because, grinds them, because it's shit and the players look ridiculous. And you'll see why as we get into this. So Monica, fabulous Polish model I've worked with. I think this is from 2010. I've got this picture open. There's Monica. You can see that she's got a lovely face, very pretty face, also very moody, very, confident, shall we say. Her makeup artist, whose name escapes me, I forget what it is at this stage, done a great job in making her look fantastic. For this, we did some beauty stuff, but for this set, I wanted to do something a little more edgy, because Monica's got great bone structure, great cheekbones, a great, really sharp nose, sharp eye sockets, sharp shoulders, very sharp. And you don't always see that when you're using soft boxes or any kind of softening light. So I decided to go for harsh. Now I decided on this to use 2 what we call bounce brollies, umbrellas if you like. So you could have 2 types of brolly. You can have one where the light reflects off it, or you can have one where the light goes through it, which is a little bit like a softbox. I very rarely use that because I just prefer the softbox myself. But for this shot, I decided to go with 2 and sandwich Monica in the middle, knowing full well from practice that if I didn't get this right, she would have a great big dirty black shadow down her face. And I'll show you what I mean. And you'll see this if you go back and look at the Premier League or any of the football pictures I spoke about before. I might over-dramatise this because I can. But what you'll see is, you can see where there's a light either side of Monica, but what they do on the Premier League is it's more like that. And then the edges are really pumped up, so there's no skin tone left. Almost like that. In fact, they do it in dark. It's more like that. So when the players come out, it flashes up on screen. Just have a look and just see. Massive side lights, massive shadow in the middle, awful, hardly any skin tone, if any skin tone left. That's what they do. And we don't do that. So what we have to do is we have to be very careful, although I want straight edges and I want, sharp lines, not to cause too much chaos in the centre of the picture. And I'll show you what I did to make sure that didn't happen. So if we look at the diagram of Monica here, now you can see, you'll remember from the first one I showed you in part 1 where I got the key light set to f10 and the rim light, which was just bringing a little bit of flash around the edge of the 2 models, set to f18, I think, maybe it was 16, but it's a good few stops lower than the key light, just so we're getting a little bit of light coming in. I've done a very similar thing here. So you can see I've gone for f11 because I've said before, it's a lovely sweet spot on the lens, nice and sharp. Everything before or after the model is nice and sharp. I don't want to overpower the key light, so I've kind of placed it. If you look at this, actually the diagram's slightly off. If you look at this umbrella here, it should be kind of like facing, should be turned around a little more facing the backdrop, because you can see it caused a little bit of a flare here. That's all 2 lights we've got. She's probably stood 2 feet, maybe 3 feet away from the backdrop, maybe a little more. But then off to the right side, behind her, we've got the rim light. And actually, in all reality, this light here, I'm just going to move it. We'll just do it like this. This light here was probably more like that in reality. That's kind of roughly where it would have been. So you can see, if we bring the picture of Monica up again, you can see that here. We've got highlights where you'd expect highlights, and we've got the shadow to the right of it here, which is caused by that light, yeah? But if you look conversely at this light, it's giving a rim. It's just coming round her shoulders. If you look, it's not as bright as this one. This one's set to f11, this one's set to f16. And again, those little separation lines up there to show those cheekbones are hardly pronounced at all, because A, we've got an f-stop of 16, but B, the light is kind of behind her, not at the side of her. And what you get in that is, if you can see that set up, you get that lovely, jubbly, beautiful kind of Monica sandwich without those horrible shadows across the middle of the face, which looks like they've been run over by a truck with too much light on either side, so all the detail of the shoulders is burned out. And that's a very simple setup I found to use to photograph beauty in a structured, sharp, angular kind of way, rather than just putting a big beautiful light on it and letting the shadows do the work. Here we've got room for Monica's beauty to come through, but also her piercing confidence and edge, if you like. And I think that is a lovely, beautiful shot of Monica. And again, if we look at when she turns, I haven't moved the lights here. She's just repositioned the body into the lights. And again, you can see she's getting those lovely highlights off the brolly. Now, you get highlights like it almost goes silver, because the inside of the umbrella I used is silver, so the reflection is silver. You can get gold, you can get all sorts of colours, but it almost makes the skin appear silver at both edges, and you can see that here. It's just beautiful, isn't it? No softbox, no beauty dish, none of that stuff, just a couple of bounce brollies positioned in the right way, set at the right settings, f11 to give that beautiful sharp, everything, even the shoulder sharp look. Shoulder, eye, nose, lip, everything's nice and sharp at f11. An umbrella sandwich for Monica and a little retouch, job's done. And again, the black and white version, I think, is almost classic in its timelessness. 2 lights, 1 camera, 1 model, beautiful look, great hair and makeup, sandwiched in between 2 brollies, set at the right settings, positioned in the right places, gives you a beautiful, classic, timeless, edgy, confident beauty look. And I really like that. So there's another one for your arsenal. Again, it depends on your model's face, the shape. Probably wouldn't work as well with a model who's got more round face or hasn't got as angular look. Kind of works well for that. And I'll show you a male version of a similar setup now to give you that, so you can understand more about how, if you want to show angular features, using what I term as, what would I term them as? Unflattering lights, really, but naked lights. The phrase they use is modifier. So there's no modifiers on them, right? Although the brolly is a modifier, it's not really modifying the light. If I'd have shot straight, if I'd have taken the brolly off and just shot the naked light out, you get far too much light. So really you'd get, Monica's face is full of light and I don't want that. The brolly just collects and scatters the light just nicely, just to give that angular, sharp line, almost glancing blow effect, which is what I wanted. And I used a very similar setup on this lovely chap, Simon, who came to me for some edgy portraits and who got some edgy portraits. And again, I used a very, very similar setup to what I used for Monica. And Monica was 2010, Simon was 2024. So there's 14 years between these two setups. And I'll show you the colour one because it's a little easier to see. Again, he's got a very angular frame, very angular face, very angular features. And if you beautify that with soft boxes and beauty dishes, you lose it. He becomes pretty. And although he's a handsome guy, he didn't want to look pretty, he wanted to look edgy. So, what does Lance do in his infinite wisdom? Sandwiches in between two lights. As the main light, I think we used F13 from memory, could be wrong. Again, I'll have gone for F13 just to give a little darkness. I'll have set it up for F11 and it will have been just a bit too bright. So just to lose a bit of light, I've dropped to F11 to save me having to walk and change the light. Sometimes laziness can help. File info I was looking at, can't we? Oh, F14. So we got 125th of a sec, F14 at ISO 100. And again, bounce brolly up here to the left of our left to Simon's right, looking down at him and causing a little bit of chaos around this here and down here. And from memory, the other light that I had here was almost off. It might have only been in the F20s. It was really, really low, but you can just see a little bit to bring him off the backdrop here. So that's it. A very similar way to get angular motion, and this time Simon's looking into the light, which gives that, I don't know, it gives that, what does it give? It gives something else, doesn't it? It's quite menacing, although he's a very handsome guy. When you beautify him with light, he's a traditional handsome guy. Great hair, great look, skin is quite, I don't know, Mediterranean and a little oily, and it kind of looks great. So when you convert to black and white, I think you get a real edgy, kind of almost menacing beauty look, which again is kind of part of what we wanted to do. And normally, if I'm doing a photograph of a male model or female model, and I get lights on the ears like that, I'm thinking, get rid of that. But in this instance, it kind of worked lovely. It was just perfect, and I really like that. And just having that two bounce brollies and two flash heads, move your model around, get them stood in the right position. Again, positioning, angles is all important. Whether the lights are up, come down at them, or come straight at them. I don't very often have things coming up at people because it creates horrible shadows going up. But if that's your bag, that's how you would do it. And just flipping between key light, f-stop, and fill light, side light, rim light, whatever it is. F-stop, making sure they're right, making sure you've got a good focus, focal length to create the look you want to do. Because if you shoot that at f1.8, you don't get any of that drama. Imagine shooting that at f1.8, so everything from his eye is going to be blurred. What's that all about? Why would you do that? I'm shooting in the more closed f-stop regions, f11, 14, 16, to add drama in a depth way rather than drama in a blur way, because blur just won't work for that shot. So I'm never going to shoot a shot like that at f, whatever it might be, 1.8, 2.8, even if 5, 6, 7 won't work. It's got to be 11 upwards. So that's that setup. So that's another string to your bow. Some things are just too raw for the podcast. too honest for YouTube, and too controversial for Spotify. That's why I started the lock-in. The lock-in is my weekly email where all the filters are completely taken off. Every week I share my ideas, my brain farts, my thoughts on photography, education and reality. No algorithms, no polish, just the truth straight to your inbox. If you like the Lance Burkitt encounter, you're going to love the lock-in. Let's get into it. We'll finish with setups, just doing one more. I'll show you this one from when I worked on a Vogue magazine style shoot 2010, again, with these two fabulous ladies, Steph and Amy. And in that set, I did some slightly different stuff as well, but I used this same setup for everything. And I did that because I researched what Vogue were doing at the time. This is 2010, and the vast majority of Vogue's own work, I don't mean the adverts that come in, I mean Vogue's pieces, Vogue's editorials were shot using one big softbox, so I mimicked that on purpose. And we did a whole set of portraits and, what do they call them? Portraits and fashion full length and 3/4 shots with this one setup. Now, the studio I was using at the time in Manchester it was a white box, basically a big white box, built like my studio. So we got the backdrop there, but around the backdrop was a big white box, so you got lovely reflections off the box. So you didn't really need to use a separator, a rim light or whatever it is. They just used to get enough flashback off the walls to kind of make it work. And you can see on the rest of the set when I get down to them. My God, such a long time ago. What year was that? It's the same year. Here we are. So all of this set was shot using the same setup. So come on, one big light off to their right, our left, for every single one of these. I put the vignette on the back of that afterwards. These, all that same setup, and that rim light you can see around Amy's arm there is just the reflection off the wall. So same setup here, and you can see that. You can see if you look on Steph's face particularly here and on Amy's face here, you can see the reflection off the wall. So no need for any other fill light, side light, air light, anything. We're just relying on the wall to bounce that back. F11, massive 1.5 meter softbox, so it covers them head to foot. F11, 1/200 of a second, and we're good to go. And wherever you position your model within that, wherever they turn, one of them, two of them, we get so much light fill in them that it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. This one, you can see, it's just there's no cause for more light. There's no reason to put anything else in there. But one big flood of light coming across, and you can temper that by f-stops, by turning the light up and down, whatever it is you want to do. But you get a lovely coverage of two people just by one big light, and understanding that. And again, we're going for f11. Focus was on Amy, but Steph's still in focus because of that. So that's another technique, a big one light technique. Same light, I'm using the same flash heads all the time. I think they were 200 watt, might be 400 watt Bowens heads. That's it. And I've done similar setups with eBay specials as well. 1460 watt flash heads off eBay. I've done similar things. The lights just have to be a bit closer. So that's kind of how I learned over the years to technically approach shooting portraits. And I don't do a lot different now. It's rare that I do any different setup. Sometimes I might be a bit magical. The ones here, for example, I shot with the Fabulous Liv, which I did earlier this year. We were getting a bit bored, so we just made some fake. Can't even find it now. We made some fake window blinds, really, and made them look like natural light. So we just stuck a load of crap in between the light source and the model to make it look like she was in a room, not a studio. That's just studio poles and stuff with stuff chucked on them. And you can see the light, the actual light here, which is just an open flash head with nothing on it, with no modifiers on it. And we did shoot some portraits within that. So, you can see how easy it is to do. We've got a bit of a Rembrandt going on there. I'll have to excuse myself from that one. So, tackling the light is probably the easiest thing when you're shooting portraits. It's the easiest thing to figure out. It's the easiest thing to work on. So you understand the camera, you understand the light, you've got good-looking faces there. But over years, you're thinking, yeah, they're nice, but there's something missing. And I felt like when I first started doing my master's degree, 2015, I thought I'm going to go and do 2 years of master's degree, figuring out what the fuck it is I'm missing. What is it? Why I think my portraits aren't quite there yet. And the truth is, I didn't have to do that. There was no master's degree needed. There's no degree in anything needed for you to understand what's missing in 90% of the portraits you see. So what's the thing that's missing, Lance? Well, I knew about it for years. I knew what was missing for years, but I hadn't realised it. And I'm a massive, I say this all the time, probably every podcast, David Bailey's probably my favourite portrait photographer. And it's not because he's a bit of a lad, isn't he? A bit of a bucker of authority. Well, that's what I love about him. It's not because he's technically brilliant, because he just used FLS and one light pretty much for most of his portrait and fashion work. What I realised is the thing I was missing was the connection with the person you're taking the picture of. Now, I've always been kind to people. I've always got on with people. I've always tried to make people feel welcome. But what I'd never done, I'd never really got to know the person I was photographing really up until that point. And how Bailey describes it is, they'd come, even if he met them for the first time, he would do something to put them at ease, make them a cup of tea, talk to them for half an hour, take 10 pictures, job's done. And I always thought, that's not a lot of pictures, is it? You haven't done a lot there. How have you managed to get that? But the connection, the perfection in the picture, that thing you see, that thing you get with the sitter, that bit that just takes it from being a nice portrait to a fucking amazing portrait. It's got nothing to do with the photography. Nothing at all. Absolutely nothing to do with photography. Richard Avedon, the same. All of those top photographers were masters, or are masters, of connection. And that, I think, is what the difference in my work from 2015 backwards to now changed. And I started to see more of that in my work because I clocked it. So going from person arrives, hey, how you doing? Do you want to drink tea? Get changed, let's get some pictures took, to, hey, do you want a cup of tea? Have a sit down. What do we do? Let's have a look at our mood boards. What do you think about this? Get to know, what do you do for work? Oh, you're at uni. Getting to know the person a bit before you take the pictures will just absolutely massively improve your work. If you're technically competent, I guarantee you're sitting there looking at your work thinking, the lighting's great, exposures are great, focus is great, but it's still a bit naff. That's what you're doing wrong. Got nothing to do with photography, nothing to do with editing, nothing to do with anything else other than connection. And once you figure that out, once I can't even remember the moment I realised it. It was early on in my master's degree, 2015, maybe October, November time. And I don't think Hugh, who was my supervisor on my master's degree, I don't think it was his idea. I don't think he clocked it. I think I was just thinking about things and a realisation came to me. Because my project wasn't going to be, how can I become a better portrait photographer? Ended up being something completely else. So it made me think about it long and hard, and it was really easy. And once the penny, you go, fucking hell. And quite often in life, stuff's just staring in your face and it's just there. You just can't see the woods for the trees. So when I look at portraits, when I look back at my portraits, I think there's a bit of a connection there with some of them. Some of them are connective. Some of them are like, the person doesn't look like they want to be somewhere else. But I think if you look at this one of Liv, which I shot earlier this year, she just looks so relaxed and pleased to be there. And even though she's posing and modelling and being quite normal, there's just a connection. You can see the connection. You can see that we've connected. We've hit it off. We've become friends, I guess friends is not the right word because I don't know her outside of photography. But shoots were easy. They were fun. She was probably an hour and a half, 2 hours. We did 5, 6 sets, and everything was easy. And we had a laugh and a joke, and and I think if I look at that, I look at the ones of Simon that I've just shown you. Let me just bring my portfolio up. Whoa, fucking, like, see how many fucking pictures I've got. If I look at pictures of even Jess, for example, I worked with Jess a couple of times a year or two ago. And Jess always brings her mum because her mum travels with her. It's great, and her mum's great fun as well. But just having that rapport, that, I don't know, that conversation, that how's life, what's going on, do you want a bicky, do you want a cup of tea? These are our reference pictures, but we're going to better than that. What can we do? And having that kind of friendship's the wrong word. I don't quite know what the word is, but it's not friendship, but it's connection, isn't it? It's that connecting with people, making them feel welcome, making them feel like they've got something to bring and give to the shoot, rather than just stand there, shut up, which models get, don't they? Particularly catwalk models. Get in, sit down, shut up, go. Which is what I guess I used to be back in there. I really did used to be like that. But since I stopped doing that, the connection I have with my sitters is obvious in the pictures. So I've worked with Daniela a couple of times, and she's a fabulous model. In fact, I hope she's still modelling. I know she was a bit disillusioned with the industry. But the connection we got, the first time I met Daniela, I met her on location in Salford. Didn't know me from Adam, I didn't know her. But meeting somebody in a public place, a train station, we then walked to the quays where we were going to work, and we had a conversation for 20 minutes before we did anything. What are you doing? Oh, I'm not doing it. What do you do? You do it full time? No, I teach as well. That kind of conversation. And when I first met Daniela on that first shoot, we had a fucking absolute hoot. And again, I think we probably only shot for maybe an hour and a half. Did 3 or 4 sets. But the connection, we had a connection. It was fun and not hard work, and ideas were flowing, and it was easy, and we were doing things in like 2 minutes. We were just not, it was no pain at all to do the work. It was just simple. And we went from idea to idea and to, no, that's not going to work, is it? That's a lot of shit. And connection for me is all I'm interested in now. Whether I'm photographing family at Christmas, family portraits, model, actor, even a wedding, there's got to be a connection with the person you're photographing. If there's no connection, you see it. There's a barrier. And most photography I see is technically good, technically interesting, lit very well. The missing link is the connection. And I think if you're honest about your own work, you'll see that. Because if you're not working in a way where the connection is natural, it's obvious. I often see it a lot on Instagram, newish models who come new to the scene, and then everybody wants to photograph them. And the same guys with cameras that have been doing it for years are all over them like a rash, throwing money at them, come and post for me. And I think sometimes the younger models feel like obliged to show their work to say, oh, I work with a photographer. Some of it's horrendous. So, and I think those guys overconnect. And I think by overconnect, what I mean is they connect to a point where the model feels like she can't be herself. That overconnection can be awkward for models, and you see it in their faces. You see it in the pictures. You can see that they're tight. They're all constrained. And with photographers that don't over-familiarise themselves, that don't push boundaries, that don't come across as arseholes, very wanty, very needy, photographers that are just friendly, welcoming, come in, sit down, have a cup of tea, what should we do? What do you want to do? How do you feel today? You in a good mood, bad mood? Which is your best side, left or right? If you're just throwing light at people, throwing instructions at people, and telling them they're brilliant and you're great, models will shrink and become frightened. And I think when I look back at some of my early work, particularly 2006, 7, 8, there is some of that in there. I have to be honest, there is some of that in my work. But like everything I do in life, I'm looking to grow, I'm looking to learn, I'm looking to get better, I'm looking to become more, I don't know, better. Can't ever equate myself to anybody else because I'm no interest in being somebody else. I have influences from other people, but I'm no interest in being them. I just want to be the best Lance Burkitt photographer I can be. Whether it's street, whether it's landscapes, whether it's nightscapes, whether it's dogs in the back garden, whether it's Daniela on Salford Keys. So I'm going to give it my best. But coming back to portraits, you can't get the best until you get your connection with your subject. Whether it's man, woman or beast, you need a connection with that subject, because otherwise, for people who are studying photography, for people who are being honest, for people who are looking, you can see, once you understand the connection is key, once you've understood that, you can look at anybody's work and see when the connection is not there. You can see it in my work, you can see it in your work, you can see it in whoever's work. You can definitely see it in quite a lot of celebrity photographers' work, ranking in particular, because I think he tries too hard. He's like, love me, rather than, how are you? And that's it from me today on my whistle-stop tour through portraits and how to become a better portrait photographer. Just for reference, it's all about communication. It's all about intent. It's all about understanding lighting concepts, understanding camera settings. Technical stuff's easy to learn. You can learn that with a mannequin. You don't even have to be sat with anybody. But if you want to learn how to get the best portraits ever, you've got to learn to connect with people. And not everybody can get it. Not everybody can connect with people. I'm lucky. I think that perhaps mine comes through teaching. Maybe as I became a better teacher, I became a better communicator, and maybe that's why probably I've been teaching about 5 years when I started, my portraits started to connect better. So maybe that's got something to do with it. Maybe I changed a bit as a person. But you have to put it all together. And we've not even covered things like composition. I mean, we have a little bit, but you know, how you shoot a picture. Do you chop somebody's face in half? Is it really close up? Is it set back a little bit? Are they off to one side? Have you got negative spaces? All those other things you can include. But if you haven't got a connection, then it's just a nice picture. And nice pictures, remember, nice pictures don't sit with you in your memory very well. The ones where you're connected, the ones that you look at and go, fucking hell, yeah, they're the ones. And you don't get that without connection. So, that's my tip of the day, folks. Learn connection. Learn to connect with your subjects, and your photography will go up massively. It will step up that many more levels. You'll know what to do with it. Anyway, thanks for listening to me ramble. You can see I'm starting to get a bit uncomfortable now, so I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks for staying with me. If you wouldn't mind doing the like, subscribe, share thing, it massively helps the channel. I'm fighting the algorithm, and currently the algorithm's Mike Tyson, and I don't know, what am I? I'm like Scrappy-Doo. Just can't get anywhere with it. So, we are starting to get there. The channel's starting to build. People are starting to be interested. I am starting to get questions fired at me, which is brilliant, but we need more, don't we? We need it to really grow so we can get more of this shit out to everybody. So please do like, share, subscribe. If you want to get this stuff early, if you can go over to my Patreon and sign up for, like, I don't know, £3 a month, you can get everything days, sometimes weeks before everybody else. There's extra stuff on there. More in-depth tutorials, longer episodes, all sorts of little bits and bats. If you could go over to the Lance Burkitt Encounter shop on my website, lanceburkittencounter.com. No, it's not even that. It's lanceburkitt.com/shop. Get a t-shirt, get a mug, get a whatever is on there. You can see I've got a t-shirt on here. Treat yourselves. Every little helps me. Keeps the lights on a bit, you know. But that's it from me. Thanks for your dedication. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions, as always, fire them to me. If you have any suggestions for stuff for me to cover, give me a shout on that. Other than that, have a fabulous day, month, week, weekend, whatever you are. Keep well, and I'll see you on the flip side. Cheers. Thanks for tuning into the Lance Burkitt Encounter today. I really do appreciate you spending some time with me here in the world of photography, education and reality. If you enjoyed the episode and feel like you learned a bit of something, do me a favour. Like, subscribe and share the channel with somebody you feel really needs to hear it. And if you're able to, and if you'd like to, please head over to lanceburkitt.com/shop and treat yourself to some of the Lance Burkitt Encounter merchandise. After all, That's how we're going to keep the channel and the podcast alive and completely independent. Until next time, keep shooting with purpose and stay true to yourselves. Cheers.
You won't believe, yeah. I can't get you on my